Hi, are you interested to learn about how to develop apps for multiple platforms with Xamarin Forms? Me and Johan Karlsson has written a book about it. The name is Xamarin Forms Project and it's published by Pact. First, you'll get an introduction to Xamarin and how to set up a development machine. When you are ready to start develop, we will guide you through 7 projects. It will start with a project where you will learn all the basics of Xamarin Forms, and we will continue with more advanced stuff. For example, how to access platform-specific features, location tracking in the background, real-time communication with Signal R, augmented reality, and machine learning. Hi, and welcome to the 4th episode of App in the Cloud. Today I am at the 1337 office in Stockholm and sitting here together with Jimmy Engström. Welcome, Jimmy.
Thank you.
You're here today to talk about HoloLens 2 and the news that was announced on MVC for about a week ago. But first, I will give you a chance to introduce yourself to the listeners.
All right.
So who is Jimmy?
My name is Jimmy Engström. I work as a developer in Stockholm at the Erik Penser Bank. And together with my wife, I run a company called Awesome Dev, focused on future technology. So HoloLens, we're doing some bot development. Blazor is a new thing that we are focusing on because that we think that WebAssembly is going to be the future of web development. Jessica, my wife, works a lot with UX because with all these new technologies, we think that UX is going to be even more important than before. We're on a podcast called Coding After Work, so if you like podcasts, please check that out. And if you're listening to this, I guess you do.
Yeah, I used to listen to it. I think it's an awesome podcast.
Thank you.
So, with interesting guests, and you and Jessica are always interesting to listen to. So,
thank you. Yeah, so that's about me.
Okay, let's talk about HoloLens 2. Do you was in Barcelona to listen to the presentation, or do you streamed it, or?
I streamed it from home.
From home, okay.
It was, I guess it was kind of expected. They talked a lot about that this is going to be the release date. Alex Kipman, who is the man behind HoloLens, sent out a tweet saying, "Oh, are you looking forward to this?" And just a couple of seconds of a video showing some kind of hardware. And I mean, it would be really, really bad for Microsoft doing that promotion and not release the HoloLens. And I must say, from the video, if you haven't checked that out, please do, because there's really awesome demos. I was really happy. I think that they addressed many of the issues that the first HoloLens had.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that. What was news in HoloLens 2?
They had some really interesting statistics. It's 3 times more comfortable. So what they did was the HoloLens 1 has the batteries along the side of the head. They moved everything to the back of the head, so it's going to be more balanced, or balanced better, I guess. But how do you measure comfortability?
I think it's hard.
3 times more comfortable.
Yeah, they probably asked a lot of people, but I also
guess so.
Watched the presentation. They talked about they have scanned a lot of heads and they use machine learning to find the best way to design it. So it's interesting. I'm looking forward to test it, but I don't know when it will be available.
So right now you can pre-order it, or you can ask to get a pre-order. So you have to request, can I get a pre-order? So I got a call a couple of days ago from Germany because I selected the German region.
It is not available for Sweden, or
it's not. I mean, the HoloLens 1 was never available in Sweden, but you could get it from the UK or from Germany.
Okay.
I chose Germany because they have the correct power, and well, the UK may or may not be part of the EU for much longer. Yeah. And so I asked her when it's going to be available, and she said that summer is the plan. So June, July.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so it's not that far away.
No.
Uh, and of course, one of the biggest things that they addressed as well was the field of view.
Yeah, because I think that was one of the biggest issues with
Yeah.
the version 1. Everyone talked about it had a bad field of view.
Yeah. And we demoed the HoloLens for about 3,000 people. And I would say that 70% doesn't even notice the field of view. They're totally focused on the monsters and robots coming at you from the wall. About 30% says, yeah, I can't use this. And a very, very few percent says that actually has one said that this is a problem. I mean, if you try it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it's going to be noticeable.
Yeah.
But if you use it for an hour, you adapt.
Yeah, probably. I haven't tried it out that much, but it was not my first thought about that it had bad field of view. So as you said, I focus on the robots and aliens and things like that in the games that are mostly for demo, I think. So,
Yeah.
But
We usually say that the HoloLens is a business platform that is game enabled.
yeah.
So you can do games. I actually have a funny story. I was demoing this for a big company here in Sweden, and I showed them a custom made demo. So this company makes turbines. It's one of the things that they make. So I'd show them a turbine in 3D. You can walk up to it. You can expand it. I could show them that this part is broken and stuff like that. And there was a girl sitting in the front row and said, yeah, this is never going to kick off.
Okay.
All right. Well, why? Well, AR is just not going to make it because you can't game with it. Okay. So I actually had 2 HoloLenses with me. So I let the others continue to try the turbine. So I said to her, well, step into my office. So I showed her RoboRaid. So that's where small robots are busting out from the wall and flying at you, and you should shoot robots.
I think that's the one that I have tried as well.
Probably. And she was totally mind blown. She changed her mind just like that.
Okay.
And everyone else was, what's she doing? What she's doing something else. So I started showing them the RoboRaid demo as well. And that's when something magical happened, because suddenly I saw the sparkle in their eyes. Oh, this is what you can do. I mean, I show them the business value, what they could do with their business, how they can use the HoloLens to make their business even more successful. But the robots busting out of the wall was the thing that this is what we need to do. They now have one.
And now they are a gaming company.
Yeah, probably.
But I understand the games maybe shows the capabilities of HoloLens better, even if the business case is more usable for them.
Yeah, exactly.
But with a game, it shows what they can do with it and how powerful it is.
And the HoloLens 2 has twice as big field of view. So and it's just in. I don't remember the numbers right now, but it's a little bit. It got like 1 degree smaller than the Magic Leap on one direction and 1 degree more on the other direction. So if you count it would be the same as Magic Leap.
Okay. If we talk about the hardware, is it the same if you compare it? If you talk about the processors and things like that, or have improved things like that as well?
It's a Snapdragon processor, and I actually don't remember what the HoloLens 1 has, but I assume that this processor is capable.
Yeah,
It
probably.
it has a second generation HPU. So the HPU is a custom made chip that Microsoft their well I usually say they're first and only, but since this is a second generation chip, I guess this is the second chip they have. So what it does is that it's going to take all the spatial mapping data. So the HoloLens has cameras that is scanning the environment together with depth sensors and stuff like that. And all this data is at least for the HoloLens 1 was terabytes of data per second. I assume that the HoloLens 2 has perhaps even more. So it's going to crunch these numbers into a position in the room. So when you move around, it's going to move the camera in your, for example, Unity application around at the same time, calculating where's the floor, where's the table, where's the wall, and stuff like that. So the HPU, holographic processing unit, that's its only purpose, basically.
One of the coolest demos they showed, if you ask me, is when they touching objects when
Yeah,
the piano.
yeah.
It was fantastic.
So
I can buy it just for playing the piano.
yeah. So one of the things that is new with the HoloLens 2 is hand tracking or gesture tracking. So the HoloLens 1 had a couple of gestures it could recognize. It had to be a particular distance from the sensor to register. But this actually has full hand tracking. So you can press things. You can, as you mentioned, they had a demo with a piano or a synthesizer, I don't know, on stage, and she could actually play the chords on the piano and pressing buttons. And I think that direct manipulation, that's one of the things that had been missing as well. And the really cool thing is that this is made possible thanks to another product called Azure Connect.
Okay.
So Azure Connect is, perhaps you know about the Xbox Connect.
Yeah, that one that you talked about, that every Xbox will have it. That was a great thing with the Xbox One.
Yeah, yeah.
In a
And
couple of
then-
months, and
yeah, and then they removed it. I got to say that we have a Connect for every Xbox we have, and we have quite a few. And I really love it. I think it was a really good product. And even though there wasn't many games made for the Kinect, just having it for voice control was reason enough. And so this new Azure Kinect is the same sensor in the HoloLens. So from my perspective, now they haven't said anything about this, but I assume that I will be able to do the same thing on the HoloLens as with the Azure Kinect. So the SDKs and stuff like that would be similar at least. And that's, I mean, Microsoft could have gone another route. They could have made specialized hardware for the HoloLens. But in this case, they chose to have the same sensors, which I think is going to be amazing.
yeah, it's made it possible to build your own products with the same sensors. So, but I guess if you're buying an Azure Connect sensors, you will probably use services in Azure, and they will make their money
Yeah.
that way instead.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
But that's a great route, I think, as well. So. One of the other cool demos, I think, was when they had objects that followed them on stage.
Yeah.
For example, they have, I don't know if it was a bird or something
Yeah,
like that.
right.
They follow
right.
her hand.
Yeah. And I mean, all these small things will make your game or application more interactive. The thing that, I mean, direct manipulation, you can grab the hologram. Now the listeners can't see me making gestures, but you could grab the hologram and just drag it out and it will become bigger. You can grab it, you can move it around. And that was a thing that was really missing with the HoloLens 1. I don't think that people noticed it, that it was missing, but I'm sure they will notice that it's there for the HoloLens 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Oh, one more thing. The HoloLens 2 has eye tracking as well.
yeah, I saw that on the demo. This was really cool.
Yeah, I actually have a Kinect sensor at my office, and I have a Tobii eye tracking at home.
Okay.
So when I walk up to the computer, it's just gonna log me in.
Yeah.
And you might think that, yeah, but logging in is not an issue. I mean, that's quite simple. You have PIN codes and stuff like that. It's simple.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start using eye tracking with, and especially Windows Hello, just logging you in,
Yeah.
it opens a whole new world.
Yeah, I love on my iPhone 10. I have the face recognition.
Yeah,
I think
right,
it's working the same way.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So, but with eye tracking on HoloLens, they know where you look. If
Yeah.
I understand it
The
right.
the first HoloLens has something called gaze, and Tobii or many eye tracking company uses gaze for actual eye tracking your eyes. But for the HoloLens 1, gaze was just a pointer pointing out from your head, and as you moved your head, it's going to move the pointer. But with the HoloLens 2, you will actually have real eye tracking. So where you're looking, that is where the pointer is going to be.
Okay, I think that's very awesome.
Yeah, and that's a thing as well that I don't think was missing from the HoloLens 1 particularly.
Probably not, but
You will definitely notice that it's there for the HoloLens 2.
yeah, that's a big improvement.
Yeah.
One other thing that is great, I think, is a new ways to collaborate with HoloLens 2. You have what do you call a spatial anchor?
Yeah. So Microsoft released something called Azure Spatial Anchor. So it's a service in Azure that you can, when the HoloLens scans a room, it will save the room for the spatial mapping for the room. So when you walk into that room a year later, as long as it hasn't changed that much, the HoloLens is going to recognize the room and it's going to place the holograms back in that view. We have had hackathons, and when we get back to that venue, it's going to be holograms all over the place because someone has been running around trying it out. So what Microsoft have done is that they have taken the spatial mapping technology and made it cross-platform. So this is going to work with ARKit, this is going to work with AR Core, and this is going to work with the HoloLens. So if I use this service, I can put on the HoloLens, place a hologram in the room, pick up an iPad, launch the same app, and it's going to sync up. It's going to see, oh, you're in this room. Well, then it's a hologram over here.
Okay, but with HoloLens 1, you can collaborate if you have two HoloLenses.
Yeah.
Or
Absolutely. And you could actually do it with AR Core as well, but you had to sync them together somehow. There wasn't a service. I guess you could build it yourself, of course, but there wasn't a service in the mixed reality toolkit. You had a service that you could connect to. And for those of you who doesn't know what mixed reality toolkit is it's a Microsoft has a open source project called Mixed Reality Toolkit. It used to be called Holo Toolkit, and it's a project that helps you develop mixed reality applications. And at this point, it is cross-platform. So you can build, you can get help with cursors, you can help with spatial mapping. There's a lot of components that you can use in your mixed reality application. And if just to be very clear, Microsoft calls this mixed reality. Apple and Google calls it augmented reality.
Okay, but do you think augmented reality and mixed reality is the same, or is there some difference between them?
It's a really hard question to answer, but by the definition of mixed reality is something that mixes two realities. So if I put a ball on this table, for example, and I tip the table, then the ball should roll off and hit the floor, perhaps even bounce on the floor. That's mixed reality per definition. Augmented reality is, per definition again, just something that augments or enhances the reality. Just a couple of lines of text hovering perhaps in front of you, not interacting with the reality. The problem is that Microsoft has adapted the mixed reality term. This is nothing that Microsoft invented. This is an old term. It's been around for years. But Google and Apple calls this augmented reality, and the same thing. You can place holograms on the table; it will roll off. So I think the problem is with the term. So what some companies call augmented reality, Microsoft called mixed reality.
For me, mixed reality is more when you don't know what is real or what is in the virtual environment. For example, if you're using a HoloLens, you can have, as you say, a ball on the table, and you don't know if it's a real ball or it's created by the HoloLens. With augmented reality, you can just stop to looking at the phone, and you know what's real or not real.
Right,
so
yeah.
that's my definition, but that's probably not the general definition.
The really, when it gets really hard is since Microsoft has their mixed reality VR headsets as well.
That's a little bit strange.
Yeah, but again, they're using the real world for tracking. So if you compare this with virtual reality like the Oculus or HTC Vive, HTC Vive has lasers. So it's not the real world, it's not confined by the real world, it's confined by the lasers. The same thing goes with the Oculus. The Oculus isn't confined by the real world, it's confined by the cameras that is tracking your headset. But with the mixed reality VR headsets, you're confined by the real world. It's tracking the real world. It's actually using the exact same sensors that the HoloLens is using.
Okay. So if you go back to the Azure Spatial Anchor, is it just a service in Azure, or have a Microsoft build application that they will release that we can use? For example, if you have a HoloLens and I have an iPad, so we can collaborate, or
It's an Azure service.
yeah, okay,
And there are SDKs for all these platforms. So you need to build an app to collaborate. I mean, the thing that you want to collaborate around is your app. So it's not like there is a I forget the name. I forgot, totally blanking here. But there is an app that you can use to view the same thing as the HoloLens is viewing.
okay,
But it's not that. It's a service that you upload your spatial data to, and then you can connect another application and get that spatial data and connect the apps like that.
okay. Is that service available now, or do we have to wait for the release of the HoloLens?
It's available now. It's available in preview, so it's free to use at this point. I don't know, and I don't know if it's public, the pricing for whatever they're going to be when it goes out from preview. But you can definitely use it right now.
Yeah, and can you use it with the first version of the HoloLens as well, or?
That I actually don't know. I haven't looked into that. I really hope I can.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'm doing a HoloLens session in late April, and I'm hoping to be able to use that service to show some cool demo.
Okay. But we'll soon go to the MVP summit, and I think you will have a chance to ask all those questions to the team.
I
of
really
HoloLens.
hope so. I'm super excited about the HoloLens. I've been super excited from day one, and we have had the luxury to have one since wave one. So it was, I think it was the HoloLens 1 was released in different waves, and I think it was up to wave 8 or something like that, and we still hadn't got it in Europe. But I have a friend that was really, really nice, so he got us one, or, well, we paid for it, but he made sure that we got one from basically day one. I think we were a week later because customs, but we were probably one of the first in Europe to have one.
And that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of fun because every time I put on the HoloLens, I get amazed how amazingly good it is. I mean, sure, it has small field of view, but there is a hologram hovering in mid-air just before my eyes.
I have never been that impressed of virtual reality. Okay, it's cool and you can make cool games, but the first time I tried the HoloLens, I was blown away.
Yeah.
It was so cool, and I have never experienced something like that before. So it's really cool.
One of the first games I tried was called Fragments. Have you tried that?
I don't remember. It was a pretty long time ago since I used the HoloLens last time.
So Fragments is one of the blockbusters. I don't know, is that the right word? But one of the games that came out with the HoloLens from day one, and it's about a little boy who has been kidnapped, and you can by it. You're in a lab, so you can check the memories from people around you. In this case, you home into this boy's memories, so you can see what he saw a couple of minutes ago or something like that. So you step into a room, and in this case, since this is a mixed reality application, you step into your room, and then fragments of his memory is going to manifest on the wall, on the floor. So it's mostly going to be your floor, but it's going to be a rat running around on it. It's going to be a bucket standing there, or something like that. And then you look for clues. Where is this boy? You find a train ticket and you see, oh, it's Chicago, huh? So you narrow it down to Chicago. You listen, and you hear a tram driving by. All right, so let's narrow this down to only places that has a tram just going outside. And you do this and you narrow it down. And a couple of minutes into the game, you're requested into a holo call. So it's going to be a holographic Skype call, basically. And you hear a voice. And I turn around. And one of the holographic characters is sitting in my couch. Just lean back, just as you do, talking to me. And my mind just... What? How? And the really, really cool part is that the company that did this has taken all this technology, put it back into, back then, Holo Toolkit, which is now Mixed Reality Toolkit. So you have access to all these technologies. So you can find out what is probably a couch, what is probably a chair, what is a table, where are there surfaces that you can do something with. One of our friends tried this in his kitchen, and they don't have any chairs, they don't have any tables, but they usually sit on the counter. Where do you think the holographic character sat?
On the counter.
Of course. And it was so... It's insane.
Yeah,
And
that's
if you
really
have,
insane.
you choose where you are, in what kind of a setting you play the game. So if you set it that, well, it's in an office, it's gonna sit in a chair. If you say it's in the living room, it's gonna sit on the couch or a table. It's amazing.
Yeah, that sounds really impressive.
Totally blew my mind.
I understand that. I have to try to get a chance to try that. That sounds
Definitely.
very cool. So if we talk about HoloLens a little bit more in general,
Yep.
how do you get started with the HoloLens development? What tool are you using? I guess this is some sort of a Microsoft development tools like .NET or
Yeah, absolutely. So there are many ways to develop for the HoloLens. One of the things that they announced on MVC, did I say that? Mobile World Congress. Yeah,
Yep.
MVC. They announced that Unreal is going to get support for the HoloLens. It had support already, but it was a community-made template. But now it's going to be first-class citizen, if you will.
okay.
For the HoloLens 1, I think it's about the last number I heard was like it's 70% of all the 3D apps are written in Unity. And this is, of course, an option for HoloLens 2 as well. And if you use the Mixed Reality Toolkit, you should be able to start developing already. This is going to be, I think it's going to be named version 2, and it should be available to download already.
Okay.
I'm not sure about emulators and stuff like that, but you should be able to get started already.
Okay. So, but there are a HoloLens emulator.
There is for the first one. I'm not sure if the HoloLens, if there are any available emulators for the HoloLens 2 yet.
Okay. Is the emulator usable? I know I downloaded it and I started it, but I never continue with some development. Probably because I don't have a headset, but
Yeah, I know that there are people that have successfully developed great apps and games using only the emulator. I would say that if you have a headset, that it's going to be way better, of course.
yeah.
But it is usable. It is usable. But I would definitely get a headset if possible.
Okay.
There's actually another way to develop for the HoloLens. You have written a book recently.
And you reviewed it.
Yeah. And the part where there is a chapter on AR using I'm totally blanking again.
Eurosharp.
Urho, yeah, right. Exactly.
Johan Karlsson write that chapter.
Yeah, you're right. And you can actually use Urho for HoloLens development as well. So you should be able to do the app in your book and use it for HoloLens as well.
Okay, so this will be the next book.
Yeah. I was actually really I wanted to do a HoloLens version of it, but I haven't had the time with a lot of things going on. But it would be fun.
Okay, so I guess much of the code will be pretty much the same as at least a rendering code for rendering objects.
Yeah,
and things like
I mean there are a couple of things that are platform specific in that chapter.
Yeah.
But you would have to do just the same thing, the platform specific thing for UWP in this case, and it should work.
Okay, but if I build a UWP app for that, can I run it on a Windows tablet as well and use or?
No.
And what support have UWP for augmented reality if we don't talk about the HoloLens?
I'm not sure if you will be able to run it on a tablet. To be honest, I'm not sure if the UWP has any good spatial understanding from just a camera.
Okay.
It should have.
As you said before, on Android we have AR Core and
Yeah.
iOS has AR Kit.
And Microsoft has View Mixed Reality for that kind of experience. It should be possible, but I'm not sure if the SDKs support it at this point. But
Okay.
well, I can
Interesting.
try it.
We will have to do a follow-up podcast later. Then. Anything else that made you impressed during the Mobile World Congress? Or
one of the things that I was also impressed with was another Azure service called Remote Rendering. So Azure Remote Rendering, which makes it possible to render the holograms in Azure. So the HoloLens is a mobile device. It has the limitations of a mobile device, rendering very complex polygons with a mobile device. That's going to be a problem. And with remote rendering, you can render this in the cloud, get the right resolution, and then download it to the HoloLens so you can show it in real time.
okay, but that will probably require a very good internet connection.
I assume so.
And that could also be a problem with a mobile device, I guess.
Yeah.
But you can be in an environment where you have a very good Wi-Fi, but you will always have the same power of the device. So
I assume that they have solved this somehow.
Yeah, probably.
But
if you use it in a factory, for example, I guess Wi-Fi connection is not a problem.
Yeah, or at home.
At home, yeah.
Because you have a HoloLens at home, right?
And not me, but I would love to have one. I need to go to my boss and say we have to buy one for the office at least.
Of course, you need to do that.
Yeah.
We have a what we call a VR room at home, and we say that that's the only room in the house that can be anything.
That's cool. We have a VR headset at the office, but not a HoloLens yet.
Which one?
I think it's an Acer one.
All
I don't remember what model. But
is it blue?
I think so. I think it's time for me to let you go home. Is there anything else you want to share with the listeners before we end this show?
Please listen to our podcast, Coding After Work. If you like podcasts, we try to put out an episode once or twice per month, depending on what kind of conferences we speak at and have the opportunity to record. We usually record in person. So
And you're also hosting meetups here in Stockholm.
Yeah, it's actually named Coding After Work, conveniently enough. We also have a meetup called Mixed Reality Sweden, and also a Facebook group called the same thing, where we discuss mixed reality stuff. We haven't had any Mixed Reality Sweden meetups yet, but we are working really hard to start doing that now, because now with the HoloLens 2, I think people are more interested in than ever about mixed reality.
Yeah, and hopefully it will be easier to get a headset.
Hopefully.
One last question that popped up now. Do you have heard anything about the pricing for the new HoloLens 2?
Yeah, the pricing, it's going to be cheaper, but at the same time, the same price.
Okay.
No. So the thing is, the first HoloLens was $3,000. And it had a business version that cost $5,000. Now, the business version of HoloLens 2 is going to be $3,500. So it's going to be more expensive than the developer edition, but cheaper than the business edition. And there's not going to be a developer edition. You're just going to get the business edition.
Yeah, and if I understand right, the difference between was that you have more support in the business edition.
More support, and it had kiosk mode, so you can lock it down.
Okay.
That's the only difference. But if you count on it, I mean, if you get one developer edition, you could almost get another developer edition for the price of one business. So it was a gamble. We got the development editions. But for the HoloLens 2, there's just going to be one. And it actually has two versions. It has one with Dynamics 365 as well. So you get a monthly subscription to Dynamics 365, and you get some remote assistance and stuff like that.
Things that we don't care about. At least not me.
I gotta be honest. I have no idea why they bundle it that way, and it's I think it's like $125 a month or something like that. So I mean, this is definitely going to be most interesting for the business customers.
Yeah, of course. Okay, thank you very much, Jimmy.
Thank you so much for having me.
And if you want to read more about Jimmy, I will add your Twitter handle and LinkedIn information and things like that in the show notes. So
Awesome.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening.